Just awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you for being here on a holiday weekend. This is exciting because it's part of my trip when Paul and I went to Europe. And the reading came from Emerson and his essay on self-reliance, which is all about being yourself. Envy is ignorance. It's a good thing to remember. Imitation is suicide. He also wrote in that essay that in society there's a conspiracy against all of us from not being individual, to be conforming. There's a conspiracy to want us to conform to the norm, whatever that is on any given day. And so to be yourself in a world that's trying to push you into a square peg is really courageous. It takes a lot of courage. And if you can be yourself in the world, it's the greatest accomplishment of the soul's journey, because you are all divine. Well, in June, Paul and I went on a 15-day river cruise from Amsterdam to Budapest on this riverboat, and it was just incredible. We were there with 140 other people, and it was a dream of a lifetime. Viking River Cruise, if you ever get a chance. They have all different types of trips. But when we were in Amsterdam, I don't know if you've been to Amsterdam, it was amazing because we were in this room at the Marriott looking down on the main square, and you saw hundreds and hundreds of bicycles going everywhere. They have bicycle lanes everywhere, and there's these bicycles that are going fast. And so you have the traffic to worry about, then you have all these bicycles. And of course, some of them are texting as they're driving, so they're not always paying attention to the people that are walking. And then some of them are on their cell phones, and some of them have baskets with children in them. And nobody has helmets, and it's just a whole new sight. It is just an amazing thing. I'd love to go back there and spend more time. The best part of Amsterdam was not the Heineken brewery, if you can believe that. Although we went there, and that's like going to Disneyland in and of itself. The free beer at the end is nice, but it's just a wonderful experience. But for me, the best experience was the Rijksmuseum. Now, it's spelled R-I-J-K-S, so I'm going to call it the Rijksmuseum. World class, best museum in all of the Netherlands. They're famous for their paintings of the Dutch masters. That includes Rembrandt. And so it was like walking into the Taj Mahal of art. It was really incredible. And some of these paintings took up a whole wall. And so when there were paintings like that, there were hundreds of people just milling around, and you're allowed to take pictures. So we've got 3,000 pictures. And so you're allowed to take pictures. And it was a milling around. It was just an incredible experience. Now, when you usually go to a museum, you have a picture, and then you have this little label about this big, and you have to get your glasses out to read it. And it says what the painting's title is, who painted it, and when. Well, in the Rijks, it was like, what is going on here? Because here's these world-class paintings, and here's, Post-it notes. I call them sticky notes. Here's a 3-foot by 4-foot sticky note stuck to the wall next to this famous painting. And it's stuck there, and it's hanging, and it's kind of curled up at the bottom. I'm like, what is that? Is a sign they're going to wash the walls or something? What's going on here? And I didn't know, so I just ignored them, like, good grief. Sticky notes in the art museum. Well, when I finally read one, I was hooked, because you'll find out why. And when I got to the end of the museum, and I always get something at the gift shop, always, here's a whole book about the Sticky Note Project. And it's called Art is Therapy. Now, what these people did, and each one has a picture of a painting, and then it has next to it, they call it sickness, I call it sarcasm. And then it has what the artist was really trying to convey to you. And I don't know about you, but a lot of those paintings I look at them and go, nice. I have no idea why someone would take 60 hours to paint that. Do you have that feeling? It's like, okay, must be famous somewhere. Somebody's mother really liked this, because all these thoughts go through your mind. And so what this art as therapy wanted to do is they wanted to put down in front of you what your first sarcastic comment might be. And so I got the biggest kick out of it. Once I realized this, I couldn't wait. I went back and read the ones I passed up, thinking they were housekeeping notes. So, what you have in your program this morning is not things that are going to be in the parking lot sale, but but they're pictures of art from the Rijksmuseum. So I want to talk a little bit about this. So what they tried to do was put down in front of you your first thoughts. Now, we all come into a museum and we had a bad morning, maybe we have indigestion, maybe we're there and we don't want to be there, but they're trying to figure out what your first sarcastic comment might be. And then they're trying to share with you the true purpose of the art and what it can do for you. I never think of that about art. What is it trying to do for me? So, the first one on there is called The Little Street. The Little Street, and it shows, it's a Vermeer's painting. It shows very old buildings, and if you pull it up on Google, if you Google it, you can see it up close, but the buildings are really in bad shape. But here's this lady in the alleyway, and she's sweeping, cleaning. The sidewalks are very clean. There's a lady in there, and she's darning. What would your first thought be when you come up to that painting? Of course, I went, okay. On the sticky note, here's the first sarcastic thought they thought you might have. Well, obviously, I have a misplaced longing for glamour. Because this is very plain. What the artist was there is saying, let's go a little bit deeper here. Ordinary things in your life can be very special. Sweeping the alley can be very special. Darning socks can be very special. Because that's a real life duty. And if you can do that well with love, how great is that? And so I looked at that painting again in a new way, and I thought, I really would have missed that part because I couldn't jerk my head around that. I couldn't think that is what the artist was trying to say. Well, when I got home and Googled it and read a little bit more, what I found out is this painting is the most famous painting in the Netherlands. Yeah, really, the most famous painting, and the gift of that picture is in showing you what true happiness is. Now, I would have missed that. So I realized I have a lot to learn about art. Took it in college, but didn't understand it then either. So it's taking ordinary parts of today and showing you how holy and wonderful and special they are and how the simplest things can bring happiness. So let's go back to Emerson's essay on self-reliance. He said, to be yourself is the greatest accomplishment that you can do in this lifetime. We often get pulled towards conformity in the way we dress, the way we talk. David's out here doing his thing. Kay can talk without notes. Not me. Well, I'm not conforming. I'm just not there yet. But I'm myself. That's the best part. I'm myself here today. Okay, so The Little Street is a very powerful message about happiness in the 1600s, just keeping your street tidy, doing the things that you're meant to do. So the next famous painting is an interior of a very, very, very boring church. So what's your first emotion? Well, here's what the sticky note said. My life revolves around business, distraction, chaos, and Twitter. This is boring. So the Art as Therapy Project said, what the painting wants to convey is how it's so challenging to get close to things that are so deep in life when we're cluttered with distraction. It takes calmness, it takes emptiness, it takes white space, it takes a peaceful environment to really be able to feel and think the most important things in our life, which, i.e., is talking to God, listening to your intuition. That was really important to me, because I know that, but that someone would paint a painting to tell me that was very impressive, very impressive. The architect, this is a real church, by the way. The architect didn't design that church to be about distractions. He designed the church to be about the value of emptiness. So if I ever go back to Amsterdam, I would love to go into that church and feel the quality that the painter wanted us to see, that the architect wanted us to see. So farther along in Emerson's Self-Reliance, he says, and it fit perfect, I like the silent church before the service begins, because at times it feels like the whole world is in a conspiracy to persistently get me to think of all the little stuff as it's big stuff. Little things of value. I must be myself. What a great message. The next one is a Rembrandt on the top of the next page. This is called Night Watch. Now, it's in a room twice as big as this sanctuary, and the painting is 12 feet by 14 feet. And there's 34 characters in it, and it's very dark, as you can see. And it was almost overwhelming to me to be milling around with all these people, everybody taking pictures and trying to see all the details of the painting. And here's what the sticky note said about the sarcastic attitude that walks in the room. I can't bear being in busy places. I wish this room was emptier. Now, that's how I felt. I went, right on, okay, he's got me there. But I continued to read about it, and what was happening is it was a little militia led by a captain and a lieutenant. And they're all smiling. This is the 1600s. They're going to go out that night, and they're going to search out any trouble that's going on in their community. And they're going to look for thieves and robbers, and they'll take care of it. But you see, they're smiling because they're a band of brothers. Like the sticky note said, they were glad they didn't have to stay at home that night. They could get out and be with their friends. It was a nasty day. It was dark. It was raining, but they're all smiling because they're with like-minded people, just like you are here this morning. And the message is about what we could be as a band of brothers. And the little girl there that's also lit up, she is wearing things that represent success. And you can go online and find that out. Some of them are very weird, but then it was the 1600s. So, but it encourages us to think about being a part of a like-minded group. Emerson in Self-Reliance says, nothing can bring you peace but the triumph of principles. They are working on their principle of safe community, togetherness, a militia patrolling the streets, implementing their principles for a safe community. So I found out on Google later that this painting was commissioned by the captain and by the lieutenant, and all those 34 people, they all chipped in to have Rembrandt paint that. Now that is impressive. So that really spoke to me, and here I was at home. I wasn't even standing there understanding all that. So the next item is a cupboard. Now this is bizarre. You have this beautiful cupboard in the middle of this fabulous museum, the best in the country, and there's this wooden cupboard, and it's like, I need some help here. Sticky note. You know what cupboards are for, to put things in to keep them orderly. Order is for accountants and boring people. I've got more important things to do than keep a cupboard straightened up. I could hear some people saying that. In fact, I was thinking of my own cupboards at home. But the cupboard takes us back to that point in time when this was a very valuable piece of furniture, and people would spend as much as we might for a car today to get a cupboard, a carved cupboard. There were other paintings there in that room of ladies putting linens in the cupboard. I thought, okay, that's worth painting, putting your linens away. So I didn't get it. What this is telling us is that we have tools to keep order in our life. And sometimes we don't use them. Too often we're too tired to put away the linens, or we stack them somewhere else. And so a lot of this art was showing us order. You know, it's a principle, order is God's first law. Order in our life, the importance of order. And it said a lot of art is meant to bring calm and order to our thinking. Now, I would have missed that. So I was learning a lot in here. So while a well-organized cupboard does not necessarily say I have a well-organized mind, but it does allow me the practice of putting things in order, the practice of keeping things looking neat and orderly. But then the sticky note said, do you have more things that are valuable to you than could fit in this fine cupboard? Do you have too much stuff? Could you really put the things that matter just in this cupboard? And that really got my mind thinking. Order is God's first law. Orderliness. And Emerson said, nothing is as sacred as the integrity of our own mind. Orderliness. So the next one, I love this because it's a Rococo art. Rococo meaning gaudy and full of curlicues and gold. It's a tea service. And I'm going to tell you what the sticky note said, but I have to admit, I showed the pictures to someone the other day, and they went, oh, I would love to have that tea service. And I'm not going to tell you who, because here's what the sticky note said. The sticky note said, sarcasm, this shouts out that not enough people are paying attention to me. You know, I think about that when I see teenagers with rocket blue hair or whatever, you know, it's the tea service. Not enough people are paying attention to me. But artist therapy, I thought they'd have some grandiose explanation, and they said, think of how this invisible, tiny, poor, and unrecognized you must feel to be drawn to buying this tea service set. Oh. And we'll calm that down with Emerson. Men have looked away from themselves and the things, and they have longed to come to status through things, through their valuables, through their property. They measure their self-esteem by their property, by the things that they surround themselves with. So this Rococo art, I personally think there are times in our life when we just have to be gaudy and let it all hang out. And that's okay. Now, if we treasure that more than all the other things we've talked about this morning, then we have to really take a good look at that. And so we end this exploration with the value of being ourselves. And I find it so impressive. The world is trying to make you into something you're not. It's time to be yourself. It's time to find happiness in sweeping the alley and darning the clothes, putting things in order. It's time to enjoy happiness being with a band of brothers, which is our community here. You can never feel sad when you're here. Everybody's so upbeat and thinking the best of you. So conformity doesn't have a place in our hearts. So take with you the message of the little street, bringing happiness to all that you do. The plain church, the importance of white space in our lives, the importance of emptiness. Find that place where we really can talk to God, can commune with our soul, and the night watch, being with like-minded people, doing something based on principle. That just feels so good to me. And the cupboard, sorting ourselves out, getting ourselves organized. And the tea service, just having time to just dress up gaudy and get out and just have a lot of fun, no matter what anybody else thinks. So we are, Judy, if you would mind helping, celebrating today our individual expressions of who we are, which is individual expressions of God. Everyone unique, everyone different, everyone relating to all this in your own way, applying it to your life in your own way. Emerson wrote that we lie in the lap of immense knowledge. That's the intelligence, infinite intelligence of God. Whereas we lie in the lap of God, we receive knowledge. If we have enough white space around us to listen, to hear it. Famous art can help us, but I'm sure glad I found these yellow sticky notes because I would have missed all the knowledge that was there for me. So all I can say to my connection with God is thank you for showing me a new way to look at life through the art of other people, saying what are they trying to tell me that is good about me, that is good about life? What is the message? Because it's always good. So let's celebrate that in a prayer. I take with me this morning the remembrance of who I am and who you are. The children of the One, each one created individually to do life like no one else has ever done. So whether we like a Rococo tea set or we like a plain church, whether we sweep our street or feed the homeless, whatever we're doing, we do it with our authentic self, our real self. That's when we're the closest to God. That's when we're the closest to the journey of our soul, our authentic self. So I celebrate this day for everyone here, taking this message into life. Envy is ignorance. Imitation is suicide. God made us to be who we are, our likes and dislikes, our love, our joy, our emotion, our hobbies. I give great thanks for all of this coming together just through these five pieces of art. I feel blessed to share it. And I let this message resonate with you in the days to come. And I thank Spirit. And so it is.